The Bible has said that God has chosen the simple things to confound the wise. In other words, smart people love to think that with their sheer brilliance and their ability to plan and come up with a strategy, that they can dictate to everyone else this is how it's going to be because they have this great wisdom and brilliance and insight that no one else sees. And there are some of us, people of faith, who say, every once in a while, God likes to come along and reshuffle the deck and just kind of mess with people and their so-called brilliant ideas that things didn't work out quite like they thought. Remember, for 50 years, the pro-life movement has worked very hard, very consistent, very steadily, going one district at a time, electing people at the local level, at the state level, at the national level who would support life. We supposedly had a GOP that believed in life. Even the so-called Bush dynasty was supposed to be a pro-life presidency. But look what we got from W in the way of Supreme Court justice nominations and who we ultimately ended up with. And we find out very quickly that we got a lot of lip service from the GOP establishment on the issue of life, but it took a guy named Donald Trump, the outsider, the non-establishment guy, who made it very clear, especially in a debate against Hillary Rodham Clinton, that yes, Roe v. Wade could be overturned. It would take 2, maybe 3 justices, but it could happen. And that if he were president, he would make sure that pro-life justices were appointed to the Supreme Court. He was scoffed at, not just by the liberal media, not just by the political establishment, but even by some so-called conservative voices. Now, Glenn Beck has gotten on the Trump train since the 2016 election cycle, but
nasally little Ben Shapiro, the guy who's like 30 years old and he likes to go on to college campuses and he likes to debate 18-year-olds. Notice he never really debates anybody his own age. He always likes to debate young people. And he likes the fact that a lot of times they do what they can to keep him off the campuses because that just lets him, grift and raise more money from conservatives because he's nothing but the male version of Ann Coulter. I have told you for years that Ann in Heat Coulter was using conservative ideology. That was her grift. That was the way she makes money. Same thing for Ben Shapiro. I don't want to hear he's this stalwart conservative voice. Bull hawk. Ben Shapiro was anti-Trump, and even after Trump was elected, he made it abundantly clear that he thought that Donald Trump was not really pro-life, that he was lying, and you stupid ignoramuses that voted for him are going to be disappointed. Hey, Ben, I have yet to see you offer a retraction or an apology. Hey, Ben, the candidates that you back, the usual Republican establishment type candidates, I don't see any of them having had the Teflon steel backbone that a Donald Trump had to not just nominate the people he nominated, like Brett Kavanaugh, Gorsuch, but to actually stick with them when the Democrats were riling, when they were trying to, through the confirmation process, smear them, destroy them. Donald Trump stood strong with his 3 picks. He got them in, which I got to give a hat tip there. It's hard for me as it is to say this, but I'll give a hat tip to Mitch McConnell. Trump got his justices in. He got them confirmed. He stuck with them. And you, Ben Shapiro, and some of you other naysayers, you anti-Trumpers who call yourselves the real Republicans, the real conservatives,
When I watch a witness protection Romney out there taking a victory lap, that, these wonderful decisions coming down from the court, that was because of Donald Trump there, Rhino Romney. That was because of Donald Trump. Every Republican owes Donald Trump a huge thank you, because what we're seeing is the Trump legacy in action. Now, obviously, I'm one of those people very disappointed at the results of the last election, or shall I say the reported results of the last election. But Donald Trump has left us something beyond his presidency, and it's, I'm going to be honest, even more significant than the price of gas at the gas pump and the phenomenal things that President Trump did while he was in office for the economy. He left us something that goes beyond his 4 years in the presidency and will linger for generations to come. He rebuilt the courts. And not just the Supreme Court, it's the other judges that he got in. He has reformulated the courts, and this is huge because this is how these libloons have been able to get their agenda through the years. They don't get it through legislatively. They get it through the bench acting as legislators. They get it through liberal judges and liberal justices ramming this kind of stuff down our throat, and then a media that backs it up, and an entertainment industry that pushes it. But they really don't get any of this liberal ideology of theirs through the legislative process. You know why? Because it wouldn't make it through the legislative process. But Donald Trump, in reformulating the courts, the liberals are out of their mind now because they have lost their way of ruling, of controlling. And even before any of this happened, the court stepping in and telling Joe Biden, no, you can't make employers force vaccination on people. No, you can't do what you're doing. So as we watch Donald Trump, who reformulated the courts, he deserves an absolute thank you. A complete and total recanting and a retraction from people like Ben Shapiro. These guys need to come out hot and heavy and say, I was wrong. He made good on his promises, and he needs to be returned to the presidency. He was wronged in a last election. He needs to be able to finish what he started. He really has carried the conservative mantle. I'm telling you, you won't see that or hear that, but that's absolutely what needs to happen. Now, when I first talked about the decision on Friday, I said, now, again, they're going to use this, the liberals are. This is going to be their issue that they think galvanizes and ramps things up for the midterm elections. And you know what? It's bombing already. See, in reality, the liberals control Congress, the House and the Senate. They've got a liberal president. They could have, over the weekend, drafted a special piece of legislation, even though that draft is already written. It's already been ready for the day that Roe versus Wade was overturned, because it was going to be overturned. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, for 30 years, have been telling Democrats, this is a bad decision. It's very weak constitutionally. It's a bad decision. Someday it's going to be overturned. You guys need to actually write a law and pass a law and have a president sign into law what it is that you want, because Roe versus Wade will be overturned, and overturned it was. The Democrats right now could pass a law, Joe Biden would sign it, reinstating abortion in all 50 states. But they're not going to, because they want the issue. They don't really want the problem solved. They want this issue so they can fearmonger, so that they can engage their base to come out and vote. But a lot of things are not going to work out like they had hoped. Now, initially, about a year and a half ago, polling showed that if Roe versus Wade got flipped, that it would energize the Democrats, the liberal base. But a lot's happened since then. You know, $6 a gallon gas, inflation, stagnation, supply chain crises, a border crisis. All of this is building up. And at the end of the day, from Team Clinton, it's the economy, stupid. And there's not enough here at this point. We're already watching over the weekend liberals doing what liberals do best, which is when they don't get their way, they have a meltdown, they cry, they throw fits, they take to the streets in rage, and burn it all down. You know, isn't it amazing? When Supreme Court decisions went against conservatives, we were basically told by the left, eat it. This is democracy in action. When a decision doesn't go their way, they want to burn everything down, they want to destroy everything. They don't have what it takes to do what the right did, what the pro-life did, which is for 50 years, build a coalition steadily, stealthily, get more and more pro-life legislators involved in the process, but ultimately it took the outsider, Donald J. Trump. But of course, the left now is just losing their minds. And I mean, it's now 4 Supreme Court decisions. It started 2 weeks ago when the Supreme Court ruled, if you're a state with a voucher system, you cannot exclude Christian schools. That was score number 1. Score number 2 was the striking down of what the state of New York wanted to do with conceal and carry. Strike number 3, of course, Roe v. Wade. And then just today, the Supreme Court said, if a football coach at the end of the game kneels in the end zone and he's praying, that is not a violation of separation of church and state. And to tell him that he can't do that, you are actually infringing on his First Amendment freedom of speech, freedom of expression. We can kneel on the flag during the national anthem, and that's protected speech. But a coach taking a knee at the end zone at the end of the game, none of the players were with him. He was taking a knee, thanking God for whatever the results of the game were. And that they wanted that coach's life destroyed, ruined, fired, never to be heard from again. And the Supreme Court said, no, nay. So that's 4 wins. 4. How many wins have we gotten out of the people that George W. Bush appointed? But we've gotten these out of Trump's appointments. Who's not the real conservative? We know that Bush and his partner Cheney, father of Rhino Liz Cheney, are war criminals. That we know. But when some of you listen to the rhinos and the establishment Republicans say, you Trump people, you have been scammed by Donald Trump. He says scam. He's a con. Who got scammed? Who got scammed? Donald Trump actually went into office and did exactly what he said he was going to do. And it was finally Glenn Beck who had to step up and at least admit, you know, that Donald Trump actually governs more like a conservative than some of the so-called conservatives we've had. Yeah. So I'm waiting for some of these so-called Republicans to thank Donald Trump for that court. They want to take the victory lap on the decisions now, you know, because this is the Republican GOP, and we can raise money on this and see, we've delivered for you. You didn't deliver bullhawk. Donald Trump delivered. Donald Trump delivered. And now we're watching the left just absolutely melt down and lose its mind. But there is a bright light at the end of the tunnel. I got to be honest. I'm a little shocked. I'm happy, but I'm a little shocked there wasn't more, I'm sorry to say it this way, destruction. I really thought that they were going to, we were going to see a repeat of the summer of Floyd. And we didn't see that. And that, I'm going to be honest with you, probably has the Democrats behind closed doors more concerned than anything. Because they were counting on this decision to infuel the lunatics within their party, even the paid lunatics within their party, to get the base all worked up, because this would be the issue that could save them in November. And I think they're realizing, 48 hours after it was delivered, that isn't going to happen. That isn't going to happen. There isn't enough push here, because here's what you're really saying. You're asking people to say, I don't care that I'm paying through the nose for gas. I don't care that the inflation and my paycheck and I can't afford anything. And I go to the store and the things that I can afford aren't even there. They aren't even available. And we got this border crisis and we've got this Ukraine crisis. I don't care about any of that. I just want the right to kill a baby. That's what you're trying to sell the American people. And when you listen to even these talking pundits on PMSNBC and NBC, ABC, and CNN, and even on FOPA News, formerly known as Fox News, talking about how, we're not respected by Europe anymore. We haven't been respected by Europe in a long time. By the way, who the flip cares what Europe thinks anyway? Whether or not we're an outlier now because of our decision on abortion. We've been an outlier for a long time. Because even most liberal socialist bending European nations have tighter restrictions on abortion than we had. Let that sink in. They had more restrictions on it than we had. And I can promise you that neither Europe nor 80% of this country believes in abortion on demand right up to the point of birth or just a little bit past. And these people that are taken to the streets, it's my body, it's my right, and no man's going to tell me what I can do with my body. But you let Anthony Fauci tell you. You did. I don't see anybody out there advocating for the hundreds of thousands of women in this country who were fired from their jobs in the medical profession, working at state and local government municipalities, who were in areas where they were told, if you don't get the vaccine, you will lose your job. And they said, I have bodily autonomy, my body, my choice. And they got fired. Who protested for them? Who said about their rights are being violated and we need to stand up for them? You can't crush women's rights like this. I don't see anyone on the left protesting any of that. But you will protest the right to terminate the life of a child. Which side is it again that's about tolerance and well, one of those nice little glitches you have when you go live. Little interruption to the internet connection. Sorry about that. We're watching people literally lose their minds over not being able to terminate life. But as I said, as we saw some things happen over the weekend, there wasn't as much as I thought there was going to be. And that doesn't bode well for the Democrats because they're counting on that. That's what they're hoping beyond hope that they can use that to care, and they're not going to. And another interesting little stat came out today. 1 million voters have changed party affiliation to Republican. Bump-a-dum-bump. Bump-a-dum-bump-bump. Now, before we take a victory lap, we've got to make sure that we are nominating conservatives, not just more rhinos. We don't need that. We need actual conservatives. You've got libloons like AOC now running around saying, we need to impeach these justices. We need to impeach these justices. That will be the next scam sham trial. They've given up on the January 6th. They know nobody's paying attention. Nobody believes it. It's done. That's over. They were hoping by getting the hearings out of the way that, there'd be 24/7 nonstop coverage of the riots in the streets over Roe versus Wade, and that's just not happening. Because in reality, because people didn't understand what the decision on Friday meant, abortions have not been made illegal. They have been placed back at the state level. Each state gets to decide. But as I said, the Democrats could end this. They're choosing not to. You know why? They want the issue. So you liberals that are freaking out on TikTok and everywhere else, screaming and yelling, "You can't take my right away!" Well, why don't you ask your president to do something? He can. He's not. You know why? He doesn't want to. You know why? He wants you angry, but he's hoping you vote. So you can go ahead and go there, all you young people that got hair now that looks like cotton candy, like you're escapees from a freak show in a carnival. Go ahead. Go ahead, convince us that you're one of 17 different genders. You're confused about everything regarding life, which is why you want to end it. And I saw somebody put a sign on their front lawn. "We have a government that will stop abortion but can't protect these babies once they're in school from a shooter." You know what that's all about? People like you. You've said that life is so cheap and so worthless, let's just kill it in the womb. So, young people who have grown up knowing nothing but, quote, abortion and the right to terminate a pregnancy that's
Inconvenient.
and that's what they've been told their whole life in the very public schools. When they become disenchanted, disgruntled, when they are disassociated, not accepted by their peers, by their environment, and they grab a gun and they go in there and they start killing, that's because of the breakdown of the home. That's because of the breakdown of the society. That they've grown up in a society that says life is so cheap, if it is inconvenient for you to have a child right now, suck it through a tube, flush it down a toilet. The pro-choice people are the reasons we have violence in the streets and violence in the schools. These are the true people of hate and intolerance. And they want to burn it all down now. Because there's a Supreme Court in place that's actually following the Constitution, and you can thank Donald Trump.